What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Camper Report. Probably won't have to I can't make this one too long, but you can't. I mean, the first round of the draft just ended and we have to come on and break it down. Obviously, I'm actually going to Denver. I live about 5 hours away from Denver, Colorado, going there tomorrow. So I have to pack, I have to even finish up a little bit of school, and I've got about 2 hours to do all of that. So I need to get on here and make this like a 20-minute show and then get off of here. Let me quickly post this. I forgot to post this show. Guys, what a first round this has been. Just absolutely, I cannot believe this at all. I am dumbfounded. There was a lot of trades, which I did actually call that there would be a lot of trades. I think this was going to be a very active first round, but I didn't expect some of the trades that went down. I didn't expect them to be in that form. The interesting thing is that the Texans trading up to number 3, which was really interesting to me because only really one person predicted that, and that was Daniel Jeremiah, who came out with a mock draft. I believe it was, let's see, I think Daniel Jeremiah came out with a mock draft. I believe it was a few days ago that had the Texans trading up to pick number 3, which I don't hate it. I think it was like a second this year. Yeah, it was a second this year that the Texans had to give up. It was a first next year and then like a third next year, and then in exchange for the Cardinals number 3 pick and a 4th round pick this year. So considering that the Texans had to move up 9 spots up into the top 3, they really, like the 49ers a few years back trading Trey Lance or drafting Trey Lance, they had to spend 2 first round picks. But the Texans moving up 9 spots to number 3 have to spend only 1 first round pick, a second, and a third, which is so weird to me. Like it's just they definitely, Texans got for what they were, for how far they were trading up, the Texans got a great deal. Kimberly Onier says, "Hi, let's go 49ers fans." Yes. We didn't say a trade up from the 49ers, but I didn't expect it to happen. I think Trey Lance is going to be on this. Us 49ers fans can rest easy because Trey Lance and Brandon Ayuk most likely will be on this team for another year. I don't doubt it. I didn't think we were going to be. There were a lot of talks about Brandon Ayuk. Since we hadn't picked up their 5th-year option, there was a lot of talks about Brandon Ayuk not staying for like another year because we hadn't picked up the 5th-year option yet. But that kind of, I think that rumor is now done, now that the first round is gone. So us 49ers fans can rest easy. Trey Lance, Brandon Ayuk, 2 of one of my favorite 49ers players, are not going to be most likely traded from this team anymore. But this isn't a 49ers show. I'd like it to be, but man, the winners and losers of this round. I gotta say, I did predict. So let's get to some of the things that I did actually predict. I didn't actually, you know, I didn't really get any picks correct, but I did predict a few things would happen that, like, I predicted that Will Levis would drop. I predicted that Bijan Robinson, obviously a lot of people predicted Bijan Robinson in the top 10, so I don't really count that. But I also predicted that Christian Gonzalez would drop slightly farther. I mean, a lot of mock drafts had him top 15, top 10. I didn't think that was going to happen. I didn't predict Nolan Smith going out of the first round, but I did predict, I like the Packers getting Lucas Van Ness. I did predict that Lucas Van Ness was going to go a lot higher than a lot of people expected. Lucas Van Ness is a beast. This guy really an outside linebacker, but has really good hands, has a high motor, really good speed. I mean, there's nothing that guy can't do. So I love that pick. I also, Darnell Wright coming out of this draft class was one of my favorite targets or favorite players watching. That pick that the Bears made was really good. Their decision to go up and get Darnell Wright from Tennessee was just, I think that was one of the best picks of the draft. I had a strong feeling that Darnell Wright would go over Broderick Jones, and I was right there. I like what Darnell Wright brings to the table. He's played left tackle, he's played right tackle, he's played even a little bit of, I think, right guard. So he's more versatile, and I think his hands are better. His speed, his foot quickness is better than Broderick Jones is. He's bigger than Broderick Jones. So I wasn't surprised there when the Bears picked at 10 Darnell Wright. Now, I didn't call the Jalen Carter to the Eagles thing. And the Eagles, every year they seem to make a crazy trade or a crazy pick that just shocks everyone. And then you're all sitting there thinking, what the fuck? Like, why didn't we, like, the teams are sitting there in the top 10 that picked before the Eagles and are saying, why didn't we pick this player? Like, the Eagles every year for the past 2 years have made moves where we're like all sitting there thinking, this was the most genius move of all time. I mean, the Eagles just traded up to 9 and got the best player in the draft. And it's like, yeah, Jalen Carter has concerns, but I'm like, I would have concerns if he had like domestic violence charges against him. I would have real concerns about his character. But like, I think the thing that he did was just a freak accident, Jalen Carter. So it's like, and apparently, according to many different stories, he's actually a really good dude. So I think this was an absolute steal. They robbed the rest of the NFL, the Eagles, Jalen Carter. That right there, I think, is really, let's talk about the winners and losers. That right there is really the thing that I think the Eagles win this draft. The thing that I don't get is the Eagles go back to the defensive line and get Nolan Smith, which I get it. You know, Fletcher Cox is retiring. You lost Javon Hargrave, but you'd think like at that pick, I thought they were going to get Brian Branch, who, by the way, is still on the board in the second round. So I didn't really get that pick as much. The Brian. Anyways, I'm back. I think I didn't get the Brian Branch pick as much. Sorry, I didn't get the I didn't get the Nolan Smith pick as much, but in the Eagles' defense, when they picked at number 30, Nolan Smith was by far best player available, BPA. So that was a good pick. The one pick that I didn't really get, and I think this is would be one of my losers, is the Cowboys. Like, Mazi Smith is good, but definitely needs some developing in the pass rush game, is really just a run stopper for right now. But I guess Dan Quinn can coach him up. I just thought that there was a lot more players at that area. I mean, there was Nolan Smith at that area. You pair him next to Micah Parsons, and that's a crazy tandem. Again, I just don't know why. I mean, there was also Michael Mayer there, which they could have easily gotten. There was Jordan Addison. No, wait, hold on. Actually, I might be tripping. Let's see here. Hold on. Where did Jordan Addison get to? Okay, so Jordan Addison went before that pick. But there was like I don't know. I guess the Cowboys did Cowboys things and they went and got Mazi Smith, but I really did not expect that to happen. I expected him to be an early to mid second round pick. But then again, I haven't watched a whole ton of film, even though I am a Michigan fan. I really haven't watched a whole ton of film on Mazi Smith. So who knows? He could be a breakout player. The Cowboys have a history of doing this. So let's hope he pans out. But another thing that I didn't get is like, why didn't the Cowboys? That the receiver position is weak there. It's like, I guess if you're looking at it by that time, the 4 receivers that were top tier receivers were already off the board. But I just think that, like, if you're the Cowboys, why don't you just trade up with maybe, I don't know, the Chargers pick and get a receiver? I don't know. I would like the Cowboys to get a tight end or a receiver at that pick to kind of bolster that offense, because I just don't think it was that good last year, the receiving core or the tight end core. And I mean, they lost Dalton Schultz as well. So you could realistically go and get Michael Mayer and nobody would be mad at that pick, but they got Mozzie Smith. I mean, I get that it was a need, but it's just like, would I have done it? I don't know. The biggest surpriser to me, and I think this is another loser, is the Vikings. Like, the Vikings defense, we're all forgetting that the Vikings literally gave up, I think it was 40 plus points to the Giants last year in the playoffs, and the Giants did not have that good offense. We're all forgetting that the Vikings were so bad at, I was about to say the S word, but the Vikings were so bad at everything defense last year that when they take Jordan Addison, which was a need, I think they needed receiver, but when they take Jordan Addison, I was like, you could probably go and get a defensive player in the second round, but it's like, was this, I mean, at that point, you still had Joey Porter Jr., you still had Nolan Smith. I do get the concerns with Nolan Smith, though, because it's like Nolan Smith, I feel like the reason why, like, the hype really didn't start coming around Nolan Smith until after the combine, when he had an insane combine and popped off. So Nolan Smith really his hype was really just because he had an insane combine. So I could see why Nolan Smith dropped, but you still have Joey Porter Jr., you still had Nolan Smith there, you still had the Enadike guy that the Chiefs got. I liked him coming out from Kansas State. So I don't know. Was it the best way that they could have spent their draft pick on Jordan Addison? I don't know. I mean, Deontay Banks at that pick was still on the board. The Giants took him a pick later, so it was okay. I do like the Jacksonville trading down and getting Anton Harrison. That's a solid pick because I think their left tackle is now suspended for a few games. And then he's also played a little right tackle, and he's athletic enough to slide to the other side. So Anton Harrison at that pick was really good because they did lose their right tackle to the Chiefs this last year, the Jaguars. So that was a really good pick there. But earlier on, so before I get out of here, because I do need to get out of here probably very soon, I did want to kind of hold on, my brother. Sorry. I did want to kind of say, like, I do want to talk about some of the things that I called. Okay. First thing, I called Will Levis, him dropping. And everyone was saying he's better than Anthony Richardson. He's better than Anthony Richardson. And this brings me back to the things like Mac Jones and Trey Lance, okay? At the very end, the last 3 weeks of the draft, Mac Jones's stock just rose. And we hadn't even heard any leaks from teams. Literally, the only reason why Mac Jones had hype was because of the media. The media hyped him up, and the media created this narrative that he was going top 3, and then he dropped to the 15th pick. Same with Will Levis. Everyone was saying this guy is going to go over Anthony Richardson. It's a lock. But the thing that everyone loves about Will Levis is he has great talent. I mean, his arm strength is amazing. But the same thing that, like, the same talent that Will Levis has, he has great arm, just great arm talent. This guy is freak of nature. Anthony Richardson has that times 2. So it's like, yeah, I mean, the main strength of Will Levis was this guy has major upside because he has incredible talent. But so does Anthony Richardson. So that's the one thing that I never got the hype on Will Levis. He had more turnovers. Now, obviously, you can make the case that Anthony Richardson had one of the lowest completion rates in all of college football out of quarterbacks. That's concerning. But the running ability is there for Anthony Richardson. He doesn't get as injured. Will Levis had concussion issues last season. So I don't know. I like the pick at number 4 by the Colts. I think it needed to be done, but I just never saw why people thought Will Levis was going to go over Anthony Richardson, and he's still on the board. Who knows? Maybe Hendon Hooker goes over him. I mean, I like Hendon Hooker. I've been saying for weeks that this guy would have been a top pick if he wouldn't have gotten injured. He has the arm talent. He has one of the best deep balls in the draft. He has the mobility. He has the pocket awareness. The only thing is he doesn't play in a pro-style offense, but neither does CJ Stroud. So it's like, Hendon Hooker's a guy I like too, but I do like what the aggressiveness. DeMeco Ryans, I like how in his first year he gets aggressive and he goes and gets the consensus number 1 edge rusher and a quarterback at number 2 and 3, which is interesting. Now, something that I also did call, I said last mock draft that Will Levis is going to be, sorry, not Will Levis, Will Anderson will be number 7. We'll drop to number 7. Tyree Wilson will go number 3 to the Cardinals. I was like, even though the Raiders don't necessarily need an edge rusher, they go best player available. So instead, I had Will Anderson going number 7. Instead of Will Anderson going number 7, you have Tyree Wilson going number 7. Those guys are like 1A and 1B for me. So I did have a top edge rusher dropping, and that was to know. I mean, I really like that Tyree Wilson pick. The Raiders went BPA, best player available, and go Tyree Wilson. Loved that pick. The one surprising pick was Paris Johnson from the Cardinals. I did not expect them to invest tackle, but I liked the pick. It's just I didn't expect him to go there with their first pick. The other thing that was kind of surprising to me, and I know I didn't have this as a topic, like things that were surprising in this draft, but the receivers. I mean, you didn't have a receiver go off until pick number 20 to Seattle. And then after that, it was pick number 20, Njigba. Pick number 21, Quentin Johnston. Now, by the way, I like that Quentin Johnston pick to the Chargers. I think he fits the mold. Like, if you look at Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, what are their body types like? They're both bigger, stronger receivers that can go up and get the ball. That is exactly what they need in Quentin Johnston. So that was kind of like a no-brainer pick for the Chargers. Another no-brainer pick and a guy who really fits the Baltimore Ravens mold is Zay Flowers. They got him at pick number 22, and I like that pick as well. He kind of fits that mold that you want. And honestly, they just signed Lamar Jackson. So as soon as they signed Lamar Jackson, I'm like, when they signed him, I think it was yesterday when they had a contract extension, I was like, this guy is going, like, they're going to pick a receiver now in the first round now that they have Lamar Jackson locked up long term. So, but Zay Flowers just fits the Ravens system. So that was interesting. The receivers didn't go off the board. And then when they did, they went off quick and fast. That was really bizarre. But the one team that I kind of think was a loser was the Lions. I didn't hate what they did, but Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, is a speedy receiver. Maybe not as good as Bijan Robinson, but why did the Lions pick Jahmyr Gibbs at pick number 12? I mean, maybe there was other teams that were going to pick him in the first round and they wanted to get ahead of those other teams, but yeah, I don't know. That was interesting. And then pick number 18, they got the linebacker from Iowa, which I actually haven't watched enough film on that linebacker from Iowa to really make a definitive answer there, but there was still Kalijah Kancey at that pick. There was still Jackson Smith-Njigba at that pick, which the Lions need a receiver badly. And so, yeah, there were receivers that they could have gotten instead of that linebacker at that pick. And the funny thing is that they could have gotten the number 1 receiver at pick number 18. Who would have thought? But now, see, this is kind of the Lions' strategy, okay? Their draft isn't over because the Lions now got even more pick compensation. Before the Lions had 5 picks in the top 80, which is a lot. Now that they got the Cardinals pick compensation, they have even more picks in the top 80. So now, if you're the Lions, they're basically going to throw as many darts at a wall and see which one sticks. Because now I think they have like 7 picks in the top 80. So now they're just going to keep throwing darts and say, okay, we're going to pick 2 receivers here in the top 80. We're going to pick 2 edge rushers here. Like, they have a lot of flexibility from rounds 2 to 3 who they can pick. So the Lions are in a pretty good position as well, even though their round 1 was a little bizarre. I feel like they're going to even it out in rounds 2 and 3. But yeah, guys, this has been a lot of fun. This has gone about 20 minutes. This is what I've wanted it to go. I need to go pack for Denver. I need to get a little bit of school done. This is going to be a busy ass night, but wow, first round of the draft is gone. We'll see. Tomorrow should be a interesting day for the Niners. We'll see if they trade up. Again, I'll be driving most of tomorrow, so maybe tomorrow night I do a live kind of reacting to the draft, the second round of the draft. And then, but obviously the third round's going to be late at night. So maybe I'll do like a nice little watch party watching the 49ers pick their players. I don't know, guys. We'll see. But players that are still on the board for tomorrow: Will Levis, Joey Porter Jr., which I thought was, wow, like what? That was crazy. I can't believe that Joey Porter Jr. is still on the board. The guy, real quick, Mississippi State corner. So real quick, and I made this point to my brother before I get out of here. I made this point to my brother. So the Mississippi State corner, his name was Emmanuel Forbes, went a pick earlier. The Commanders basically had a choice between Christian Gonzalez and Emmanuel Forbes. Christian Gonzalez, the cornerback out of Oregon, Emmanuel Forbes, the quarterback out of Mississippi State. They basically had a decision between those two cornerbacks who to pick. The Commanders did. And they go Emmanuel Forbes, which I actually kind of agree with this pick, because the one concerning thing, Emmanuel Forbes has a similar speed to Gonzalez. Christian Gonzalez, is actually slightly faster than Christian Gonzalez in the 40 time. I think he has a 4.35 and Christian Gonzalez has 4.38. So the concerning thing with Emmanuel Forbes was he's only 166 pounds and he's like 6 foot. So that's the concerning thing. But here's my argument. Emmanuel Forbes played at a stronger conference than Christian Gonzalez. He played in the SEC. Christian Gonzalez played in the Pac-12. So Emmanuel Forbes was playing against the best of the best competition, okay? Way better than Christian Gonzalez is. And I just didn't understand the hype surrounding Christian Gonzalez a lot of the time, because this guy, like, look it up. His completion rate was 60%. That's not good. And you're not even playing in that competitive conference. Emmanuel Forbes' completion rate was 40%, and he was playing at a way more competitive conference. So I didn't really always understand the hype. And Christian Gonzalez wasn't always a physical corner. And Emmanuel Forbes had him beat there. He had him beat in speed. He has him beat, I think, in zone cover. He's more of a versatile corner. So I actually don't hate that Emmanuel Forbes. Like, I didn't really get a whole lot of time to watch Emmanuel Forbes right before the draft, but what I did see of him was very exciting. And he did only allow a 40% completion rate. And I think his QB rating when targeted was like 60 or 70. So he was good, and he played against some of the best competition. So I didn't hate that pick. Guys, I have to get out of here for real this time. Have a good rest of your day. It's just, wow, what a wild draft. Some things I kind of predicted, and then some things I was like, what in the heck? Like, that was unpredictable. But yeah, we'll see you guys again probably tomorrow. Hopefully I'll be slightly longer podcast tomorrow, but today I have to make this quick and sweet. So we'll have you guys later. I'll split up some of these videos here, and yeah, go Niners.